Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. How are you guys doing? Happy holiday season, whatever you celebrate. I love this time of year. Christmas is my favorite, so I get super excited. Actually, it starts right at Halloween, and then this is my favorite time. I love the celebrating. I love the decorating. I love the lights. I love the movies, all of it. So I hope wherever you are listening that you are having a wonderful holiday season with the people that you love and know how stressful the holidays can be. And I know for many people it's difficult, especially if you are missing someone. Like this is, I think, our second Christmas. Is this our second Christmas without my sister? Or third now? Oh my God, time is just flying. Yeah. So, there's always that. But I still choose to celebrate with the ones that are here that I love, and she would want me to do that. And I talk to her every day, so I still feel very, very connected to her. So I wish that for you also. I have a really cool show today. I have intuitive channel Stephanie Banks as my guest, and she's going to join me in just a couple minutes. Just found out that Stephanie lives really close to me. So her and I are going to have to get together and meet in person. I'm excited about that. Okay, so to my regulars, I just want to say thank you so much for coming back week after week. I get your postcards. I get your messages. It means the world to me. And if you're joining me for the first time, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show, and I hope that you come back and listen to more of my shows. I usually, probably 99.9% of the time, have a guest, almost 100%. And I find the coolest people to be on my show that are doing such amazing work. So you can always go back and listen to old shows. We put them up on Om Times Radio archives, and there's a description in each show. And I also take the show and put it on postcardstotheuniverse.com under podcasts. Same thing, description about what the show's about is in about the show is on there. And yeah, I would love it if you guys would keep listening and share it with your friends. As also, the shows go on all the podcasting platforms. So you don't even have to go to my website or Own Times. You can be on Apple, you could be on Google Play, you could be on Spotify, whatever your choice is. We are everywhere, which is really cool. So, a little bit about me before I talk to Stephanie. I'm an author, I'm a photographer, I'm an artist, and I had a book come out 5 years ago already, and it's called Postcards to the Universe: Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. I like to talk about manifesting, and I like to use creativity as a tool for manifesting, and I use photography. So what I do is I have people create manifesting postcards, kind of like a vision board, but like a postcard size. And people send them to me. I photograph them. And when their manifestation shows up in their reality, I share their story. And that's basically what the book is about. There's 30 postcards that I photographed and stories in the book, and it's broken up in love, money, health, career, and abundance in so many areas. I have fun writing exercises and tools and fun games to manifesting more money or to bring love into your life or health. So that's all in the book. As the 5 years has been coming up, I rephotographed the postcards because it changed. the way I was photographing them very much during COVID. And I'm going to be, when I do the second edition, they will have the new photographs with the stories. So that was been fun to go back and see how much it's changed for me in the last 5 years. I mean, the 5 years went by like so fast. I don't know about you guys, but I swear I feel like time is moving faster. I really do. It's crazy. Um, Also, I just want to say that I love getting manifesting postcards. You can find out how to make one and how to send one or where to send one on postcardstotheuniverse.com. I have the information there. It's a perfect time to create one. What do you want to bring in 2025? So think about it, make a postcard on it and send it, and just send me a little email. Let me know that it's in the mail. I'm telling you, they're so much fun to do. They work. They really do, because I get people tell me all the time, "Oh my God, you're never going to believe it. I manifested what I wrote on my postcard." And I'm like, "Yes, I do believe it." That's why I'm doing this. And then I get to have this show and meet amazing guests like this person who I'm going to be talking to right now. So let me tell you a little bit about Stephanie Banks. She is a highly sought after intuitive channel, mentor, and guide, and she helps people connect on the soul level. She channels from the perspective of any soul currently on the planet. Souls on the other side, purely non physical beings such as spirit guides, as well as trees. I love that so much. Animals and Gaia. Connection and communication are the common themes in all of Stephanie's professional endeavors as a speech language pathologist, birth doula, lactation consultant, infant message and massage instructor, and intuitive channel. When her mother's dementia made verbal communication impossible, Stephanie found ways to communicate with her mother's soul. And this was the beginning of her channeling journey. As a conscious channel, she is both the vessel to receive the messages as well as a guide to provide depth and context for the information coming through. She uses her keen sense of humor, love, and compassion to join her clients in their spiritual experience. Stephanie also mentors clients in discerning their own inner voice of wisdom, enhancing their confidence and self trust, improving their relationships, clarifying their soul's purpose, and finding their laughter and joy. She is the author of the bestseller, Joining Joni, Staying Connected to Your Loved One Through Dementia and Beyond. Stephanie is currently completing her second book about her spiritual journey, and she has a TED Talk called I Am an Intuitive Channel, where she shares her unexpected experience with channeling and invites others to discover their own intuitive gifts. So, to learn more about her, you could go to her website, which is soulinsight.com. Welcome, Stephanie. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I love the work you're up to in the world.
Thank you. It's so fun. Like mine is the fun stuff, right? Like I always tell everybody, you got to do the inner work. You got to find out what story you're telling yourself. See the right people. See the right healers. Clear all that out. And then
That's
once
right.
you do all that, then you come to me and then we go into the playground and we have some fun and we make some magic, right? That's what we have to do, because we do have to know what's going on inside, right? What our subconscious is really doing, because we may say we want things, but then subconsciously, if we don't think we deserve the things we say we want, that doesn't come, right? But
Yeah, we have a lot
I
of programming.
a lot. I am super interested in your story about where you got into the channeling with your mom. Can you share a little bit about like how that unfolded for you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll just define channeling in my definition of it.
Okay.
To me, channeling is just connecting to divine energy and wisdom. And that is something that flows within all of us. But again, we're oftentimes conditioned away from it. And I didn't grow up with any, I didn't grow up seeing people on the other side or having any kind of out of the ordinary experiences. So when my
Mhm.
mother was diagnosed with dementia, she was actually quite young. Her dementia started in her 50s. And
Wow.
it took a while before we got the proper diagnosis. So there was a lot of struggle in our relationship just to sort out what all of these personality changes and cognitive changes
Mhm.
and difficulties were. But with dementia, eventually what typically happens is you start to lose your ability to communicate clearly, either what you express or what you understand, and sometimes both. So I knew from being a clinician with my speech pathology background that I didn't have a lot of time to have a good relationship with my mom. You know, soon we were going to
Mhm.
find ourselves where communication at all was just going to be too difficult. And I needed to find a way to stay connected to her that transcended traditional communication. So lucky for me, at that time, I had a best friend who was an intuitive channel. I'd never heard of
Mhm.
channeling before, but this woman was absolutely gifted with connecting to souls and bringing information and messages and imagery through that would help with whatever you needed help with, a relationship or making a decision or anything. So I asked her if she would please channel my mom's soul while my mom was still living, so I could ask all those questions that she could not answer clearly for me anymore. I wanted to know, how can I support her? I wanted to know, where am I getting in her way, because we were bumping heads over such
Sure.
ridiculous things. I wanted to know how I could let go of some of the resentments that
Mhm.
I had, so that we could have more of a clear and loving relationship. I had a lot of questions, and my friend channeled for me, and I learned what my mom needed, what our souls were here to do together, where I was stepping in her way of her relationship with my father, where I thought I was just wearing my superhero cape and making it better for everybody, but actually I was interfering with their soul
Mhm.
agreement. And this changed everything for me. It allowed for me to have a close and sweet and deeply connected relationship with my mom through the remainder of her earthly journey. And now, with her on the other side, we are the best of buddies.
I love that. I love that so much. So when you started, so what a gift that you had a friend who did that and could help you in that process, because I can only imagine what that must experience must be like. Luckily, my parents, I have both of my parents, they're still here and both um, very clear of mind, they're nuts.
Hmm.
They're crazy. They're Italian, but they're fine. Like in that way. So I can't imagine what watching your mother decline like that, especially being so young, you know, must have been like. So from your friend helping you, did you say, "Can you show me how to do that?" Like how did it go from her
Yes, so the sound cut out for a minute, but I
Oh,
think I
okay.
know what you were
Okay.
asking. And the process, the trajectory was, when I saw what effect this had on my relationship with my mom, I immediately knew I have to figure out a way to be able to do this for all my relationships and in all the areas of my life. So that's when I started to study and learn
Mhm.
from mentors. I went to the mentor that taught my friend, who was actually local to us, Melissa,
Oh,
and took her in-person classes for a while. This is many years ago. She's on the other side at this time, and so is
mhm.
my best friend. Actually, she's on
Mm.
the other side as well. And I took classes from Sonia Choquette, who is a
Oh,
world-renowned
I know
psychic
Sonia.
medium. You've probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know her. Yeah.
And yeah, and I read everything, studied everything, practiced, really took it as far as I could with what was available at the time, which was quite a wonderful array of teachers and guides and information. And at some point, I realized, when I was actually looking for another class to take, because you can kind of get addicted
Yes,
to
you can.
credentials and to trainings and everything. And because of my left brain clinician background, I do like to be trained in different things. asking my guides in a conversation in a carpool line, where's my next class? Like, who's my next
Mm,
teacher? And they
yeah.
very clearly said to me, no, no, honey, you're done with your studies now. You must go and serve the people. And I wasn't really thinking that that's what I was going
Right.
to do. But I realize now, of course, it's the next step. And I haven't looked back. Within an hour of agreeing with my guides to do that, my phone rang with my first real client. And so I might as well have just sent you a postcard way back then, Melissa, telling you what I didn't even realize I was manifesting at the time because it was that instantaneous.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard that happens a lot for people. Once you are on your path of where you're meant to be and you say yes to it, things just click right into place. It's like you'll meet
Yes.
the right person, you'll sign up for the right course, somebody will introduce you to somebody. It just happens like that all the time. So I'm curious, how do you I've had many channelers on my shows throughout the years and everyone is very different on how they receive their messages. I'm curious, how do you get the messages? You hear it in your head? Like, is it a feeling that you get? How does it work for you?
It's like a stream for me. I would
Mhm.
say I'm hearing it, but I don't want people to think that there's actual, that the hair cells in my ears are moving from sound vibration because it's not that. But
Okay.
I am hearing it and also speaking it concurrently. And I also, at the same time that's going on, am receiving imagery that goes along with the information and the insight and the guidance so that when I'm done receiving and speaking the message, I can then add the extra layer with my client and say, and this is what else I was seeing. This is how we can pull
Mm,
it more comprehensive in its kind of story together. So it's very hard to describe
yeah.
how of what I'm experiencing, but what I'm actually doing is getting out of my way. That's how I'm
Right.
creating the space for the information and the connection to be made. And that is, I believe we can all learn how to do that. I believe we're all channeling all the time, and there's so many
Mhm.
different ways that we channel. And art is channeling, and so is photography and writing, and
Yeah.
all these things that you're up to. This is just how we connect to the beauty and the gift of divine energy and spirit. Um, all with our different flavors, and it's beautiful that you have found your many flavors and I have found
Mhm.
mine, and there's so much out there to discover, but that's how I kind of receive it and transmit it. It's really beautiful. My voice does change a little bit when I'm
Mhm.
channeling. I do speak a lot of times, the messages come through very quickly, so I do like to go back and process them with my client and sort of highlight the key points because it's a significant download that comes through.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I was going to ask you about that. If it's like you feel like some other light being is coming through you, because I have a guest who comes on my show on a regular basis, and he's a channeler, and he completely leaves. He doesn't even really realize a lot of times what's being said, and he channels like the angels or the Palladians or the master teachers. And like Gregory, he like he's gone, you know, and then he comes back when the channeling is done. But then I have other channels who are similar to you that are present as the channeling is happening also.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So the
Hmm.
difference is conscious channeling versus
Hmm.
trance channeling. And I
Yes.
didn't know
Thank
the
you.
delineation. Yeah. I learned this in a channeling interview, if you can imagine, when I was applying for a channeling job at a new age store locally, and she
Hmm.
had me channel for her. And when I was done, she said, "Oh, I'm really glad to see that you are a conscious channel because that's what I prefer to use in her business."
Mm,
And I said, "Oh, great. What is that? Like, what does
yeah.
that even
Right.
mean?" But it's just what you described. I'm fully aware of what's
Yes.
coming through, what's there. I'm present. And there are even moments where I will be given a little bit of additional information that the guides will say, this is for you, this is not to share. Because
Mm.
they know what the person I'm
Mhm.
reading for is ready to hear or what will be in the highest
Right.
service. So, and there's nothing that is like that kind of inhabits my presence, my body. And I remember for the most part what I've said.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, then he is that's what he is. He's a trance channel because
Yeah.
he's like, "No, I kinda sometimes kinda know a little bit, but not really." I'm like, "Well, where are you?" He's like, "I don't know where I go. I'm just not." Like, "Okay." Um, but what I you're right. I do agree that we are all channeling all the time, and most of us don't realize we are. So, my question to you is for those of us that are because the people that listen to my show are totally like into all this stuff. They believe in all this stuff. They read about it. They connect with spirit on their own, and how do we know though if it's the voice in our head that we are creating the answer, or it's the voice of our intuitive higher self that's giving us messages.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. And what I say is that everything, all the channeling, I believe, comes to the place of imagination. So
Yes.
we've learned as a culture that like if it's imagined, it's somehow not real. But actually, there is nothing that no object in this world that you can find that wasn't first imagined. I mean, any
Right.
man-made object. So the imagination is a real thing. It's what we use to create. It's what we use to see and understand beyond. And without it, I wouldn't be able to channel. So if you think you're making it up, yay, you are. We are making this up every moment of every day. So I like to get that
Yeah.
clear
Okay.
from the
Good.
get-go. What you want to pay attention to in terms of discernment of, is this the voice of ego and
Mm,
restriction and fear, or is this the voice of intuition? Is how do they feel? Because the egoic voice will always feel tight, constricted, fear
yes.
based, worry, anxiety, grasping, gripping. We all know what it feels like when we're in fear or anxiety. And the voice of intuition is soft, it's subtle, it's certain. We might not always
Mhm.
follow it, but it is certain. And our job is really to attune our energy to that subtlety so that we're just constantly in the flow of that intuitive energy and information that's coming through. But that's how you tell if
Yeah.
you're, where it's coming from is based on how it feels. And you can always trust that. You always trust how you're feeling.
I love that. Oh, yeah. So when you were channeling and you're connecting with your mother, you know that it's your mother's consciousness because of the way the messages are coming through to you, and that it's not you giving the voice to your mother in what you would want her to say. You're able to discern the difference.
So there is no way and no instrumentation that we
Mhm.
have to give 100%
Sure,
on that,
sure. Of
right?
course. Right.
And I would suggest to anyone like this is kind of what can keep people from even connecting. Is like, well,
Mhm.
unless I can be absolutely perfectly sure that this is only and only my mother's soul and that there is no other
Right.
influence here, not even my own, then we talk ourselves out of the possibility of having this beautiful healing connection. So, what I like to think of it as is there is a blending that I'm doing when I'm channeling. When I'm
Mhm.
channeling my mom, the beauty and expansiveness of me and my soul and spirit is inviting and connecting and melding with hers. And together, we are
Mhm.
communicating. And is
Mm.
there influence there on what I know of her, feel of her, sense of her, with regards to what I'm receiving from her? Of course. I'm influencing
Right.
you right now, and the questions
Sure.
and where you're guided to ask me, you're influencing me right now. Like this is
Yeah.
a good thing. This is a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. It's part of the exchange. So I really, I totally understand the question, and I would encourage everybody to acknowledge what we're really trying to do is meet up in the place of love.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, no. And I can definitely see your left brain the way you answer the questions because it's true. And yeah, there's no 100% definitive way to measure it, but we can on some level if you understand and you know a little bit about physics that energy never dies, it just changes form. So if you follow that thought process, why wouldn't you be able to connect on an energetic level with someone else? Because we do know that we're all and everything vibrates at a certain energetic level. We know this and science is able to is backing it up now. It's catching up. So it makes sense to me that you would be able to connect with her consciousness even though she's not on the earth plane anymore. So I love that.
That's right.
That's just,
That's
yeah,
right.
it's
And
fascinating
we
stuff.
have,
Go ahead.
yeah, and we do have, evidence-based mediumship work, tons
Mhm.
and tons and tons of data there that have been
Yeah.
studied and have been measured, and people can validate, yes, that was, that the reader will not know
Right.
anything about the person and will state their favorite color or how they
Yeah.
passed, et cetera. So there's lots of different, this has already been proven in terms of the ability to connect with those on the other side. In
Yeah.
terms of is this really my mom coming through? I guide myself back to, well, how does it feel? Does it feel
Mhm.
good? Does it feel warm? Does it feel like love? Does it feel like her love? Yes, it feels
Mhm.
like that. Or does it feel the opposite? Then I might be influencing this or in a place of fear. So I'm going to go take a nap and walk away from this for a bit and come back and try again.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I always feel like I always get like a hit, like I'll feel it in my physical body. Like and I always know that that's not coming from an ego place. And it's just a sensation, but that's because I'm always practicing now in my meditations and everything. But I just looked at the clock. I can't believe it's already that we're already at the halftime mark. So let's take our break here because I have a bunch more questions for you. All right, everybody, stay tuned, and I'll be back in just a couple minutes with Stephanie.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, Creating the Life You Crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
Hi, and welcome back. If you're just joining me, I have intuitive channel Stephanie Banks on my show today. So, Stephanie, I was thinking, and during the break, and you actually have this as one of the bullet points when I was getting all the information about you, about being a speech pathologist and working with communication disorders has taught you about, the human connection and channeling and your intuition. And this question really hit home with me because I have a nephew who is on the spectrum and he is nonverbal. Well, he's very verbal, but he can't tell us if he wants something or he needs anything. So how could you share a little bit about being a speech pathologist and how that's helped you with the communication disorders when you're working with somebody?
Sure, sure. One of the things that's important in being a good speech pathologist is that we are not simply assisting people with traditional verbal communication. We actually
Right.
have to find what's going to work best for that patient
Mhm.
or that client. And so
Yeah.
that pulls in a lot of different things. There's body language, gestural communication, there's
Mhm.
augmentative communication, like with devices and computers and
Yeah.
things of that nature. But one of the beautiful things that I found that my speech pathology practice afforded me was to be able to attune at really deep layers, kind of like the
Mhm.
beyond of what we might just be seeing with our clipboard and checklist of what a
Mhm.
client or patient can or can't do. And so when you talk about individuals who are on the spectrum or non-speaking or non-verbal, there's a lot going on with there's a person there, and a lot of people forget
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
our job as a culture and a society is not to require them to meet us and speak with us as we are accustomed, but
Mhm.
to find them, to meet them, see what works, for them. And I don't know, Melissa, if you have ever heard of this podcast called the Telepathy Tapes.
Mm.
Have you heard of
No.
them?
No, I
Oh,
haven't, but I'll check it
okay.
out.
So
Okay.
it's exactly what you're asking about. It's very science based and evidence based. She's interviewing people who have autism and are non-speakers on the spectrum, and there is
Mm.
such a rich life going on, and they have their
Mhm.
own communication with each other. That's why it's called the
Mhm.
telepathy tapes. That goes, nobody can understand but them. And I learned
Mhm.
so much. I just listened to it recently, and I'm a little bit obsessed with it, waiting for the next episode to drop because it is a fantastic
Oh,
deep
yeah.
dive into what we tend to miss. And as a speech therapist, I felt constantly ineffective at working with
Mhm.
certain populations. And that was
Yeah.
one of the ones I would really have a hard time with because at the time I was practicing, we did not have enough to
Yeah.
offer for ways to stay connected and give them ways to communicate how they needed to in the manner that they could communicate with us. So yeah, there's a lot more to that, but that's what I will say. And definitely listen to that podcast. It's
I
brilliant.
will. I'll send it to my sister and my
Yeah.
mom too. But when you're channeling, since you're also you're practiced at channeling, and you're working with, and this also works if you have children under the age where they can't communicate with you, like babies, for example, who
Yes.
can't tell you if they have a bellyache or whatever. What can someone who's listening do to try to connect on a level where they can communicate with a child or a baby who can't communicate their needs back to you? What could
Yeah.
we do?
Yes. Great question. Um, the best process I could suggest is often impossible, and that is to get to a quiet space where you are not going to be, where that child or individual isn't going to be needing you or distracting you, or because to attune on that level beyond what your eyes are seeing or your ears are perceiving, it requires like just some space, some quiet. So go for a walk or something. And if, I do teach some practices for tuning in, and for some it's a simple breath work practice. And for others, it might be a mantra or holding mala beads and moving through the beads one at a time. For some others, it's a particular song that really puts them in an elevated state where they feel more at peace and like there's a presence, a loving presence surrounding them. And then you can ask questions that are just really open, and listen for what comes through. So instead of like, what should I do about Johnny? You might ask, how can I serve Johnny's needs in the highest way right now? It's a real open-ended kind of soft way of asking spirit for guidance, or asking Johnny's higher self for guidance, or asking your higher self. As parents, we have a lot that we can trust within ourselves of what we know about our children, sense about our children. And many, many times, especially if you have a child with special needs, that is sort of not so believed. We're taught to put our trust in all the other experts, but we are actually the expert on our own child. So I always encourage parents, I ask them, what's working for you? What are you sensing? What are you present to? And I do channel for a lot of families that have kids on, who have communication challenges, or teenagers, which for many of us do still fall in that category of communication challenge, because that's the nature of teenagers sometimes too. They stop wanting to communicate as openly oftentimes. And there's so much we can do to stay connected at a heart and soul level, and really leaning into the trust of what is coming through that feels warm and open and subtle and loving.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's great though that you can help parents out, especially if they have children who have difficulties communicating because, for whatever reason, that you can help assist. I mean, I know my sister and my mother both say that they can read his mind. So they always know what's up.
Yeah.
I can read his mind. And he's 10 and I talk to him like a regular 10-year-old and I explain everything to him. And I know he understands
Yeah.
everything I'm saying. I just talk to him like I would talk to any other 10-year-old. And if he's like looking around, if something's going on, I'll be like, it's all right, buddy. So and so's doing this, and your dad's going here, and pop up's going over there, and they'll be back in about an hour. And I just because I know he can't ask, so I always tell him, and then I notice he's like, oh, okay, now I know, even though he can't express himself back to me. It's really
That's
interesting. It's really,
so
yeah.
important. Yeah, you
Oh
you
yeah, yeah.
basically just taught a whole class on on how we all need to respect and be in shared space with others, because absolutely our culture and society makes the presumption of
Mhm.
non-competency if
Right,
people
and
are
it's not.
not communicating in the way we expect, and that's not it at all. They're very competent.
No. Yeah, oh, very. Oh, no, that kid, he knows what's what, and he's always paying attention even when he's on his iPad. I know it. He notices any subtle change around him. The way his brain works, maybe mine doesn't work that way, but his brain, the way it works, he is completely 100% aware. I would bet my life on it, on everything. If there's some shift in the energy of the room, he notices it. He's
Yeah.
totally, even though you think he wouldn't be because he's on his iPad doing his thing, but oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you're right.
fascinating.
Yeah.
It is fascinating. So how can the us like who are listening who like to connect with a loved one who has passed um to the other side? Like, is there something that you have found that works really well for most people, like a mantra or a certain meditation, or because and I know it's really hard, especially when you're in the active stages of just losing someone, and you're grieving really, really hard. But as some time goes by and you're not in that active, hard part of the grieving, is there a place where we can go to that we could feel that connection, without losing it in hysterics, basically, is
Yeah.
my question.
Yes, yes, exactly. Well, certainly. And you're right. If someone is in acute grief, that's going to
Mhm.
be more challenging for them to
Yeah.
feel, possibly the connection with their loved one. But we have to go through grief. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, we have to.
that's that's the cost of loving deeply. And thank goodness we have loved so deeply. I find that I make the best connections with anyone, whether they're part of my family or I'm channeling for clients. I make the best connections when I'm joyful. And because that is such a beautiful, expansive, curious, playful, open state. And that's where all the goodness comes through. So, not pushing yourself quickly past your grief, feel everything. But if you're looking to connect with a loved one who has passed and you feel like that's like you're ready to do that, you might start by going to the places or having the experiences that the two of you used to do together. If there's like a favorite outdoor spot, maybe a park or a lake or some place where nature can be utilized, because the energy of nature is super grounding and supportive and clearing and cleansing. And then you can just kind of listen for them, kind of see what you feel, what you pick up, talk to them constantly. I very sadly lost my father just a few months ago. And I don't like to say lost because, of course, I know he's right here,
Yeah.
right now. But in my grief, he has felt lost. Even with what I do professionally, it's still just a gut-wrenching loss for me. And but I'm talking to him every day, and he is responding, and he's funny, and he's it's delightful and delicious. So I encourage you, anyone, keep an open mind that your sense for them can be a lot of different ways, but it likely will not feel heavy. That's why I'm saying, if you're coming from a joyful place, an open-hearted place, you are likely to feel this joyful connection with them, and maybe even some humor, some laughter, some memories. If you try to cultivate some of the really wonderful memories that you've had, it can also kind of signal or summon that soul's presence. The truth is they're with you. There's not like a time when they're too busy and sorry, can't check in with you right now. I'm visiting Aunt Trudy, but I'll be back later. It's not that. They're always there, always present with us. And again, it's about aligning with the subtlety of that new energy that they're fully inhabiting than anything else. But they're there. The love doesn't go anywhere, and the support is ongoing.
They can be everywhere at once because they're not constricted by a physical body anymore. So
Yeah.
that's true. So I'm interested about your experience. You say that you channel the animals and the
Mhm.
trees and Mother Earth. So do you connect? You can connect with like somebody who lost a pet, or and you can connect with that animal. Does it work like that? And if you're like walking by a beautiful oak tree, can you just ask the tree to connect with the tree and you get messages? Is that how that works? I love that.
Yeah. So with regards to animals and people for that matter, yes, I can channel those on the other side. And what I really love to channel are those here. So I have clients who will call and say, Fluffy is just not acting right. Like I just adopted this new family member, and I don't know if she likes the new puppy. Something of that nature. So I can tune into the essence of Fluffy, and she will tell us what's what. Does she not like that new family member? What needs to happen for that to go more smoothly? They're very funny messages. We end up just cracking up because there's just such a realness and a directness mind has.
Yeah.
So yes, I do like to channel animals that are here. I don't do any medical mediumship. So if there's an ailment or
Yeah.
something, I will not be
Okay.
saying, oh, it's in her
Right.
shoulder and you need to go here or there.
Right.
But there's so much that we can channel from our companion
Yeah.
animals. And yes, with trees are
Love
incredible,
trees.
and they are the earth keepers and wisdom holders.
Yeah.
And imagine just being steady for so long and how much they've seen. Especially, we have so many old trees on the planet that we really need to protect. So anyone can go up to a tree, hug a tree, put your heart up against a tree, listen, connect, feel for what's there, ask for support, guidance. You'd be shocked to see what comes through. It's deeply loving and deeply wise.
Yeah. I believe you because every time I see a tree cut down, I get very upset. It bothers me
Yes.
terribly. It does. It,
Oh,
it
yeah.
always has. And I love the smell of fresh Christmas trees, but I don't like that we cut them down and then anytime I see after Christmas and they're discarded at the end, like in the garbage, it really hurts my heart. Like I'm
I
like
totally agree with you.
I need we like I love that there's some people they're starting a new trend where you take the tree potted and then you can return the tree to the earth if you want a fresh tree, or
Hmm.
obviously you could have a candle that smells like a tree and like me and have a fake tree, you know. And then you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it. But yeah, it really does. So I understand how you can feel that connection, and I think I have a little bit of that channeling thing with especially with cats. I don't know why. I always feel like I always know what the cat's thinking and saying, like our cats. So I feel that
That's
like on some
awesome.
level.
Yes. That's awesome. And I'm
I'm like,
really
I speak
appreciative.
cat.
Yeah, I'm so appreciative that you spoke out about how you feel about trees and the connection that you have, because many people don't realize that there's such a thing as being a plant empath. You can be an animal empath, you can be a human empath, a
Mhm.
physical empath, an emotional empath, an energetic. There's like endless
Yeah.
types of empaths. And I am the same. And I realize this when I walk by a plant that needs water desperately. I start to
Mm.
feel a little frantic, like, oh my, I have
Mhm.
to get that plant water. Or if my
Yeah.
neighbor throws their unwanted potted plants out for trash, Melissa, I have lost count of how many plants I've adopted that I don't need. I don't even have place for, and I just can't. I cannot
Yeah.
see a living being
Yeah.
discarded and
Yeah.
and excommunicated in that way. So it is the same for Christmas trees. And you're not alone, and you're not crazy. And we need to speak out about this because
Mhm.
everything deserves care and
Everything.
thriving
Right.
opportunities, and we need not be so wasteful.
No, we need not be so wasteful. So, and we're creative enough to come up with very good ways of still having the same experiences without taking the life of these beautiful. Oh my God. And Christmas trees are so beautiful. Oh
Yes.
my God. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So I want to talk about your book too. And I want to make sure we have enough time, but I want to ask you before we get into your book, what is it that you like find that you love the most and that you find the most challenging about your work as a channel?
Mm. What I love the most is its endless application across every area of my life and the lives of those that I serve. There is nothing as yet that I have found that channeling cannot illuminate, clarify, heal, support, transform. It's such a powerful way when you decide I'm just going to go to the soul level about this instead of all the
Mhm.
personality layers and the old beliefs and the limiting, conditioning, et cetera. So that's what I love the most. And let's see. I think what can sometimes, it's less challenging for me now because I've been doing this for long enough and doing the inner work, but it can feel challenging sometimes knowing that I might be in the company of those who, it doesn't matter to me if they're non-believers, but there are plenty who would um, disparage or mock this,
Yeah.
area of work, this aspect of ourselves. And
Yeah.
I used to get really angry about that. And now it's more like, it's just so sad because I feel the emptiness there. What if I didn't have this? What if I didn't recognize that I am a soul first, having endless, experiences and many, many lifetimes, I believe, of journeys that are designed to bring me home to unconditional love and teach me how to grow more in that way. So that can be a challenge. If someone says to me, well, so what do you do for a living? I do a quick scan and I take in, okay, what are they, how are they appearing to me right now? If they appear like more of a younger soul, I will say I'm a speech therapist. And if they
Right.
appear as one who, is open spiritually or more, I guess I would call it soul evolved, then I'll say, oh, I channel.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah, that that's how I am when I describe when people ask me well, what is your podcast about? It depends on who's
Yeah.
asking the question. Yeah, how I answer.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But what do
Yeah,
you
and we don't
do?
have to.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have to. I don't have to bring everyone on board with me, right? We're all
Right.
having
Right.
our own
Our
journeys
own
here.
our own journeys. Yes. So now, so you had this experience, and it opened up with your mom, and um, her journey of going through dementia, and your journey together, your contract together. How is did you just get an idea? Like, I need to write this book. Was your mom's name Joni?
Yeah,
Joining
yeah,
Joni?
my mom's
Yeah. Okay,
name,
that's what I figured.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I I kind of feel like the book just had to write itself.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't even really think about the book hardly anymore. I rarely talk about it. It was something that I had learned so much in the process of being in service to my mom during that part of her lived journey. And the book it's not very spiritually based, to be
Okay.
clear. It's
Okay.
much more pragmatic and practical in here's what you'd say if your loved one says or does this. Here's what you don't say. Here's what you don't
Yeah.
do. Here's how you can nurture this, and here's how you can cultivate that. Because I made a lot of mistakes, even with all of
Sure.
my clinical training. I made a lot of mistakes because the mother-daughter relationship is oftentimes complicated, and mine was no
Often. Yeah.
different. So I really wanted
Yeah.
people to know how to join their loved ones in the walked
Mhm.
journey rather than enforcing that they join them.
Yeah. Well, that's very helpful though for people who are listening, because more and more people are getting to an age where they have elderly parents, and maybe not even elderly anymore, who are showing signs of dementia and Alzheimer's, and so having something out there that is helpful is always a good thing to let people know that that's available to you. So it's called Joining Joni, staying connected to your loved one through dementia and beyond. And I'm assuming they can get it at Amazon and Barnes and Noble
Yeah,
and all the book places. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm curious, how was your experience doing the TED Talk? Did you enjoy it? Because I think one day I would like to do one, but then I'm like, do I want to do one? Do I want to get on
You
stage and really do
do. You
one?
want to do one. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
do.
do.
I
Okay.
actually have my second one ready to go. I'm just looking for
Oh,
the right
great.
stage for it now. Yeah, it changed my life. Maybe not in the way you might think. I actually was most afraid that I would forget my, part of my talk when I was
Sure.
doing it. And
Yeah.
so I rehearsed it constantly, and I knew it
Yeah.
backwards and forwards. And then the day before I performed it on the stage, I heard my guides say, "You are going to make the mistake you most fear making." And I said, "No way. No way. I am not. I'm not going to forget my speech." And
Right.
sure enough, Melissa, that's what happened. There was a
Oh
point
my.
in my talk where I was speaking about my best friend who taught me channeling. She was in the audience. She had been diagnosed with brain cancer very
Mhm.
recently. And I looked out in the audience and I saw her and I forgot my next part of my speech.
Oh
And
my.
so that actually happened. And I lived to tell. And it was not the worst thing ever. And there was
Right.
someone in the front row who had my script who whispered my lines and I recovered. But yeah, it changed me. It takes a courage that I
Yeah.
wanted to know if I had to be able to speak at that in that sort of way. And so do it, girl. You go for it. You do want to do it.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that. No, I'm always I think it's so fantastic when people get up and do these talks and they talk about stuff. And it takes a lot of courage. So I admire that you did that, especially talking about being a channel, which is,
Yes,
yeah, exactly. It's also what you're talking about too. Oh my God,
that's
Stephanie,
right.
it's been so great like sharing and talking to you today. Is there anything that you want to leave us with? And do you work directly with people one on one? And how can they reach out to you?
Yes. I would want to leave people with the belief that they are also a channel and that this is a birthright. And certainly I do private sessions all the time. You can schedule those through my website, soulinsight.com. And I also teach people how to channel. And I have a 6-month program coming up where we are really going far and deep with channeling skills.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. All right, everybody, check her out, Stephanie Banks. And you can find you at what's the name of your website again?
So,
Soulinsight.com.
yeah,
I got it. I
you got
got
it.
it.
Yep.
Check her out. All right, everybody. Happy holidays. And I am sending everybody so much love. Thank you for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.